Okay, so for our third video, I'm going to be talking to you about this man, John of Gaunt, and this line here, the Beaufort line. So, John of Gaunt, you can see he was actually married 3 times, but we have 2 of his wives on there. Now, Henry IV was his son by his first wife, Blanche of Lancaster. And Blanche of Lancaster actually hired Catherine Swynford to be a governess to the children of herself and John of Gaunt. So Catherine Swynford was actually part of the Lancastrian household way back, and she was there raising the children of John and Blanche, and also as their governess, so educating them and that kind of thing. So John of Gaunt, it's worth pointing out that he was an incredibly rich man. I think it was something like maybe the 8th richest man in Europe. And that is partly why his son Henry Bolingbroke is so upset when Richard II decides to disinherit him. But this means that when he's been married to Blanche, Blanche sadly dies during the Black Death. He gets married again to I think it's a Portuguese woman. They have a daughter, but they're not that important. But he marries them again for consequence. But when she dies, he decides that he's going to marry for love, and he marries Catherine Swynford. And because he's got so much money and he has so much power already, he doesn't have any need to marry someone important or of consequence. And Catherine Swynford isn't. She was a governess. She's not an important lady. But he decides to marry her. But at this point, he and Catherine Swynford have actually been having an affair for several years, which has resulted in the birth of 4 illegitimate children. We've got a couple of them on there, but they actually have 4 illegitimate children. But when they get married, John of Gaunt asks his nephew, Richard II, if he will legitimise the children. That is something that the king can do. So these children are illegitimate because they're born out of wedlock. Richard II decides that he's going to say, yes, they can be legitimate, and the Beaufort children, these ones here, are declared legitimate twice by Parliament in 1380 and 1387 under Richard II. But John of Gaunt takes no chances. 1396, they are also declared legitimate by the Pope. Now, when Henry Bolingbroke becomes king and takes over from Richard II, he agrees to allow the Beaufort children, his half-brothers and sisters, to remain legitimate. However, he removes them from the line of succession. He bars them. He says they're not allowed to inherit the throne. And if you follow this line down to John Beaufort, his son John, Duke of Somerset, to his daughter Margaret Beaufort, you'll notice that this is where Henry Tudor, Henry VII, gets his claim to the throne from. So, whilst he is a descendant of John of Gaunt, which technically does make him part of the House of Lancaster, it is through basically a bastard line, an illegitimate line, and a line that was actually even ruled to be barred from the succession by Henry IV, the first Lancastrian king.